Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It is hot on the lake this morning. Pardon my t-shirt today. Usually I'm dressed a little bit more appropriately, but it is warm here. It's about 80 degrees. One thing about living on the lake, we don't have air conditioning because we got a constant breeze coming off the water. But with the studio lights, I've got the fan on, if you can hear it back there. Got the window open, so there might be cars driving by, boats going by. So just bear with me on this. It's warm and it's the summer, and thank God for it. I'm Ted Davies. This is Ted Davies Artistry, and this is TED Talks. And today I have an awesome guest. Jody McFee is a broadcaster and artist. He's an extraordinary person anyway, but he had me on his show about a month ago, and I wanted to reciprocate that because I think that we're going to see a real candid view on who Joe is as a creator and the inspiration that I think you guys are really needing in the industry. This guy, he hits the ground running and he does it. He doesn't play around. He does it all. So I want you guys to really take note of who Joe is, because the work that he does is amazing. Amazonia is great. But just being in the trenches, really doing the work and getting out there and going to the cons and everything else when they're there, when we're back to normal. Joe does it all. And I want you guys to see his perspective on what indie comics are all about, comics in general, because he's a wealth of knowledge. So we'll get to that in a second. Okay, Indian River Roasting Company. I've got a little bit more at Columbus Beach. I haven't gotten the other order in yet, so it's coming. But in any case, let's learn a little bit more about Indian River Roasting Company, and I'll talk to you in a second. Here at Ted Davies Artistry, we take coffee seriously, and so does our sponsor, Indian River Roasting Company. It's fair trade, organic, and they're artisans just like me. The only difference is I use watercolor and ink and they use coffee beans, and I enjoy it all through my day. So do yourself a favor, go to the description when you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Find Indian River Roasting Company's website, use the promo code CAFFEINATED 2021, and save 10% on your purchase. Yeah, use that promo code CAFFEINATED 2021. Save 10% on some awesome organic coffee. They're Michigan-based. They're a great company, and they sponsor this show. So check out everything they're doing. It's in the description. The website will be there, Indian River Roasting Company, and take a look at what they're doing. We also have a great sponsor down in Bay City, Michigan. We have Cashman's Comics. John Cashman is a staple down in Bay City. He is the entrepreneur that came up with the idea to run a comic book store 25 years ago in Bay City, and he's the only one remaining now. He's just a great guy. Let's learn a little bit more about him.
And every day I wake up feeling the same way now. Need to find something to believe. Every night the dreams we made, they're haunting my head now. Yeah, when you get down to Bay City, say hello to Petey, John's dog. Tell them both that TED Talks sent you when you go to the store. What's nice about John is whether you're a novice or whether you're a seasoned collector, he takes care of all of it. So comic books, magic cards, collectibles, and he ships nationwide. So check out everything that he's doing at cashmanscomics.com. And, of course, he sells my books as well. So terrific guy. We're also proud affiliates of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. And, there's not much more I can say about this great affiliation. We're a group of creatives that help creatives build their business. And if you take a snapshot of this screen, this will give you our 7 days a week programming. So it's educational, it's entertaining. Most of the stuff I do is entertaining, I hope. But in any case, we are, like I said, a group of creatives that really do care about building other people and their business up. So check out everything we're doing on Facebook, Rising Tide Broadcast Network.
And we're also got another show that's coming up that I'm going to be part of with Glenn B. Fleming, starting July 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are doing a show called The Truth Mongers, which is a conspiracy theory with some common sense involved in it. And it's going to be really an in-depth discussion. We're going to have a few guests on over the course of the next few episodes. But it's debuting the 14th. It will be pre-recorded, and I think that we're going to try to do some type of launch with Brian K. Morris on this before the show. So hopefully we do that and tell you a little bit more about the what we're going to be breaking into. July 14th is going to be pyramid power plants and the ancient technologies that powered them. So it's going to be quite interesting if you're into that conspiracy theory, and are you ready for some truth? That's the hook. So in any case, I hope you guys enjoy it when it comes out, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Check out everything that we're doing on the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. And yeah, I mean, this is it. So Tuesdays are jam-packed full. Well, at least the morning is with TED Talks. We're usually on about an hour and a half, give or take. So, but it might take a little bit longer with Joe. Just depends on where we go with it on that. Later in the day, we're going to be with Clever Title Pending with Brian at 8 o'clock tonight. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else on Tuesdays. I can't see it. Well, maybe you guys can check it out too. But look out what's going on with Brian tonight, because I know it's going to be a good show. So with no further ado, I want to bring in my guest. How's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going? Good morning, tribe. You have to address your tribe, because you got out there, and they're part of the show too.
Yeah, they are. And we'll get to the comments in a second. So let me start out the TED Talks, the official start of it. When did they drop you off, man? When did you land on this planet?
I actually don't know the stork or the angel or whatever brought me to this planet per se, but the only thing I could tell you is that the Wayback Machine goes all the way back to August 9th, 1975. That's pretty much what I could tell you here.
Okay, cool.
Ironically enough, it was here in Chicago.
Awesome.
So I was born and pretty much raised here.
Awesome. I had an office in Chicago too, and it was a 45-minute flight from Detroit. It was like 4.5 hour, depending on traffic, to get there. Man, I love Chicago. Hugo's restaurant. We would go. Was it Gibson's or Gilbert's? The steakhouse.
No, it's Gibson's.
Gibson's. Okay, so Gibson's and Hugo's had the same. I guess they had at the time, 20 years ago, whatever. They had the same restaurant or the same kitchen. But Hugo's is cheaper, so we'd go over there. Oh man, there's nothing like Chicago pizza and Chicago steaks. But yeah, forget about it. It was so good. I love Chicago so much. So
we are the pizza capital of the United States.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, but there's discussion about which is better.
I know. I mean, Detroit's got some killer pizza. We do. Buddy's Pizza in Detroit, brutal. But it's different than Chicago.
Right. Every place has their unique.
New York.
Like I tell people from New York, you got, this is coming from a person for Chicago, you got the best thin crust pizza there.
Oh yeah, they do. Very good.
Here in Chicago, we're deep dish. You cannot get a better deep dish pizza anywhere else. We
in Detroit, we've got Buddy's has got it's kind of a deep dish-ish pizza.
It's more like pan, what you call pan.
Right. And then they put the sauce on top of it, all of it, though. And it's just, it's so freaking good. And it killed me when I stopped eating gluten, because we had to change everything. I couldn't get pizza anymore. So I can only get certain pizzas now. Luckily, Buddy's has a good gluten-free pizza, thank God. But they're like 4 hours away. So, but anyway, I digress. Let's say good morning, everybody. First,
Eduardo's pizza.
What's that?
If you ever had Eduardo's pizza while you was here,
no.
Status too. We're talking about a pizza pie that's like that thick.
Oh, forget it. It's like lasagna. Yeah, that's crazy. We'll talk more. You're making me hungry. We're going to talk more about food, because I know that's Chicago's such a, like I said, I got stories about Chicago, good stories, and I'm sure you do too. Donna, good morning. Skunk Rocker, Paul from Pop Cultures Avenger, how you doing? Good morning, Carl. Of course, Carl Mann's in town. Eric Hawkins, Glenn. So we're international. So we got Glenn. We got Glenn in the queue here too as well. So, Glenn says the best steak I had in the U.S. was in Abilene, Texas. Yeah, well, I can imagine why. I think Fort Worth was where I had one of the, well, we got great steaks here in Michigan. We really do. But down in Texas, that was one thing. You go down there, it's, pick that bull and anyway, we won't get into the slaughtering part of it. But Eric, good morning as well. Okay, so let's get to the nitty gritty. So, okay, Chicago. What part of Chicago?
South side of Chicago.
How was it growing? How was that growing up? I mean, there's a lot of my cousins live in South Side, so I mean, it's like,
Well, yeah, I was like, well, put it this way, from most of my grammar school years, it was like I won't say deep South Side, but it was like South. It's like I don't remember like the first 3 to 4 years, but like from when I was 5 to maybe about like 12 or so, we was like, up in the hundreds, like right off of in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Not deep South Side, but deep enough where it's pretty much, kind of standard fare, to be quite honest. I can't really say it was a bad neighborhood or a good neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was in between,
Yeah. Yep. Well, and that's, there's pockets in the city. It's like in Detroit, you had really good streets and then you had really not so good streets. It just, and it really, my parents looked out for other kids, and I know that parents on our street and that looked out for me, and it was kind of and if I was doing something wrong, you bet my parents heard about it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. And I think that, it takes a community, it takes a village, right?
Right. That was during the age where that was kind of expected, the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Then from there, it's like, left Chicago because my mother got a different job. We went to Jackson, Mississippi for about 3 or 4 years. Came back to Chicago, where we're at right now, somewhere around where we're at right now. Finished up my high school there. And then I went into, well, actually, I didn't go into, technically I went into the Air Force right after high school, and then got accepted into the United States Air Force Academy, which was some of the things that Henri was talking about that not too many people know about.
Yeah.
So, I know what it's like to be at one of those academies. I actually been there for a semester and everything. I was academically disenrolled, but I left with an honorable discharge because of my service prior to that. So that's the reason why I served like the normal 4 years that you would normally serve when you go in.
Right. Gotcha.
Because once you go in, I went in the reserves. They brought me up to active duty status to, get myself prepared for the United States Air Force Academy. And then after that, I went in, and once your orders change, that whole thing with the initial contract goes away.
Right. Isn't that interesting how that works? We're going to go into that in a minute. I want to go back just a step back, grade school and stuff. So you went to grade school in Mississippi then, or was it?
Yeah, it was in the city. All of it was in the city, local, all was local schools here. It's like,
okay, but it was Chicago though. Wasn't, well, you must've gone to school in Mississippi though, right? And
yes.
Or how old were you then?
When I was, like I said, probably around like, from like 11 to like 13, 14, because it was during like my 7th, 8th, and 9th grade year.
Got it. What was that like? What was like the environment? Was it different than Chicago? I mean, being down south, north. I mean, I'm just asking.
It's culturally so it was different, but people wise, not really. Again, when you're a preteen to teen, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but it's like getting used to the culture, dealing with the more of the adult aspect of things and how adults treat you was way different.
Really?
It was way different. It was nowhere near like Chicago.
Yeah.
People are more intrusive, if I would say that.
I understand. Get that. We'll just leave it at that, but I get it. Did you work when you were a kid? Did you have we talked a little bit about that
when I came back
okay.
to Chicago, I was in several work study programs and, pretty much worked from the age of like 15 until now. What'd
you do when you're 15?
15, my first job was, helping out, during like this summer computer camps and stuff to that magnitude. And then for my senior year of high school, I did a little bit of data processing for a how can I put this? It was
like
it
a
was
think
not
tank or something, or what?
no, it was like a preschool, but it wasn't a preschool. It was like kind of like a daycare slash preschool. So it was
Yeah, like a nursery
all
school.
the building, dealing with all the building stuff and doing entry for that and building up their databases and stuff to that magnitude. And then from there, went into the Air Force shortly after that. Then I came back and I went from the Air Force and got directly right back into college. I didn't waste any time. It's like I could have took some downtime and got a job. I was like, nope, going directly.
You probably, it's probably better you did that. I know that my son started out in the reserves as well, and he wanted to go in. Me, I'm trying to talk him out of it because I wanted to be happy, I want to be safe, but I didn't want to be part of the problem. I'd rather be the solution. So he and his mother and I, we ended up signing the papers to, because he wanted to get in when he was 18. So he went into for helicopter maintenance. So his aptitude was enough to.
He was definitely Army.
Oh yeah, and it's different because I know Chris's brother is retiring from the Air Force now. He's been in, had his 20 in or whatever, and I've seen, how he's traveled all over and been not stuck places, but shipped off and on and on, the routine. And it's like, God, you really have to be a certain mindset to do it. My son, unfortunately, I think he got with the health and everything else, there's some issues there. So they had to discharge, just get him out of the service. But it's, but yeah, I understand the dynamic, the stress levels, some of the things my son was telling me, some of the people that were there, the younger kids, didn't have any direction at all. They didn't come from a good home. They actually came to literally to boot camp with weapons in their totes, in their bags. Did you have any of that type of, that type of environment that you dealt with, that you remember? Just
not necessarily, because again, being that I did like the JRT, the junior rise and all that stuff, I came in there with a mindset that I knew what I was getting into. So when I met the others that had no clue, what they were getting into, and they kind of like section you off because they know what they got.
Yeah, right.
That's the weird thing. In the military, when you sign up, there's certain tests that you take, and after those tests, they know what they have.
Yeah.
They kind of section you off, and so you don't really get into that environment unless you test very, very low. So once you said, helicopters, I was like, okay, he's Army, he's mid, he's like mid-tier.
Yeah.
He might meet some unsavory people, but 9 times out of 10, he's not.
Right. He said that he said some of those people shouldn't have had guns. They shouldn't have live ammo on. He said it was scary. It was absolutely, he said he did what he was supposed to do, but he had his eye open all the time. And it's just, but that's the risk of it all, right? I mean, you're trying to better yourself. You're trying to get yourself, my son was too. He was like, listen, I want to help. I want to serve, I want to do something to help some people. I'm like, that's cool. I get what he's saying there, and that was good. And I respected that about his decision to want to do it. And I have a huge amount of respect for you. Thank you for your service. Obviously, huge amount of respect. I think that you guys are, anybody that's in the service. That's one thing that I've learned in my generation, that we didn't have to do it. We didn't have to go in. We didn't have to, and my brothers, they missed the draft in Vietnam just by, a year. So, they're much older than me, but it's I have a lot of respect for the people that serve, because it's not an easy thing on families or you. So
that was one of the things that they kind of drilled into you, because I remember while I was there, at least with the academy, it scared a lot of people because it was simulated. They brought us into this one auditorium and everything, because this was during the time that it was like Desert Storm became Desert Shield.
Yep, I remember that.
I
sold a ton of T-shirts then. Isn't that terrible? Warmonger here. I sold a lot of T-shirts though for the cause and for for profit. So anyway,
so they brought us all into this big auditorium. So all of the squadrons was in this one big auditorium, and this one guy came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden this big map just showed. they showed a big map of Saudi Arabia. It's like,
Yep. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to tell you this. There's a good possibility that you can get deployed as of this time in this day. You should have seen everybody. People were crying.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's like, what did I get myself into? And all this other stuff. It's like, I'm not ready to go over there. I'm not ready to go to war and this, that, and the other. And it's like, it was like, that's when it dawned on.
Yeah.
You're going to war.
Yeah, right.
And it was just weird just to sit there through that, to hear that briefing.
The whole experience of
hear
it.
That briefing. And then at the very end, that's when they told us, it's like, we don't have to worry about that unless these dire conditions hit. And then everything gets accelerated. Okay. Meaning that we would jump from where we're at rank-wise commission, because during that time we were warrant officers, we would jump into the actual commission range. We would start coming in as second lieutenants, and we would be going out to war.
Wow. And then you have hazard pay too, maybe on top of that. But but still, I mean, what is it? It's still the how scary that must have been. I don't know. It just being in that situation.
That whole briefing was supposed to sober us up to be
right.
This is what fun and games. Really signed on for.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. You're not just here to get an education. You're here to serve your country, and at any given time. And they laid it out. I mean, they laid it out. They was like, they had everybody like ready. That's like, we already know what assignments that you're going to have based upon your aptitudes and all this other stuff. At a moment's notice, if anything went south over there, we're going. Yeah.
And that, that's a pretty, that was a pretty sobering thing for me too. That was the first thing I thought of when my son said, hey, I'm like, God, and then because certain administrations, everything changes, politically things can change on a dime, and it's just I know we need the forces. I don't mean that, but it's still scary. And it's different when it's your son, it's different when it's your son or your daughter. It's different. As selfish as I am. But how was your family? How were they? I mean, I know they supported you, I'm sure, but
they were okay with it, because in the back of their mind, they knew that I'm not choosing the path to go into a war.
Yeah,
I was choosing a path more so to be stateside, to actually work, to actually build, to actually get into, like, during that time, I wanted to get into aeronautical engineering. I wanted to build aircraft. I wanted to design and build aircraft. Far cry from where I'm at right now. And a far cry from what ended up happening as far as my degree was concerned too.
Well, that's why they call it a plan. It's a suggestive thing. Don't beat yourself up. I'm glad you're where you're at, because I get to meet you and talk with you. I'm glad where you're at. So I'm glad that whatever happened, and you're here, and you're safe. What was the what was the biggest thing that you learned from that experience? Did you learn that my son, I jokingly, now you know how to make a bed, because he didn't when he was a teenager. He learned how to make a bed and keep his room clean, and that kind of thing. What was the biggest thing that you learned from that experience, from all of it?
It's more along the lines to stick with it, to see something all the way through, even if it doesn't work out. See it all the way through, because you never know what you may learn from it. One of the things that had happened there is that I had advisors while I was there, especially from the United States Air Force Academy, that literally was like pulling me over from going from the aeronautical engineering into the computer sciences and dealing with computer systems, because they saw that aptitude. They saw what I didn't see.
Okay.
And
that's great.
And it they started to pull me over there, but it was a little bit too late here, because I wasn't adjusting academically there. It's like, it's one thing to deal with the military side, which I was okay with.
Yeah.
But when you have to deal with the military side and deal with the academics to the level of what they want you to deal with.
Right.
it was a little bit too much. To me, it became like an either or, and they wanted
Right. I can imagine it would. Yeah.
Right.
Well, and everybody learns differently too. I mean,
Mhm.
they're very structured. They don't have like it's just a general umbrella probably of how to learn. I mean, my son had issues reading, and for him, so I mean, audio and video is like a huge thing for him to learn. He can retain information so much better that way than say reading a book, Um, but it wasn't set for that. I mean, there was a lot of things that manuals he had to read, and it was, yeah. I mean, it was very frustrating. I'm
It,
sure for him.
it was frustrating in the same aspect. You have to do all of that, and then do all the other military stuff. Like you
On
still
top
have
of
to
it,
be,
yeah.
you still have to be on guard duty from this time to this time. So the time that you normally would take to study something, you're now doing some other duty on top of that, and then
Yeah.
you're trying to rush to, retain that knowledge and go back over it like a couple of times before you have to go and take that next exam.
Right. Do you think that was part?
Both is hard.
Yeah. Was it part of the breaking process then? I mean, what they call it breaking in, but the breaking. Do you think that
No.
the overwhelming? I mean,
Well, I have to define it like this here. My first year and a half, which was straight military,
yeah,
no problems. That breaking part was really trying to break your individuality from you before you could understand that you're a part of a bigger team and that all your actions affect other people.
Yeah.
Then you get into the academy, you get the accelerated version of that, which was perfectly fine. But in addition to that, now you have to go through a university structure.
Okay.
For all your classes. So you go from it's like it was so structured that you go for classes from this time to this time. Then you have to show up for formation to your squadron for you could go eat together.
Yeah.
Then you go back to your classes. Then you come back for another formation for end of the day. Then you have to do whatever athletics or something that they had assigned to you, or whatever duties that you have assigned to you, whether it's within your squadron or whatever else. And then from after you do that, it's like whatever time was left, you either ate, slept, or studied. So like your average day could run anywhere between like 5 o'clock in the morning to maybe like 1, 2, or 3 at night.
Oh, easily.
And then turn right back around and get back up and be dressed and ready to hit formation at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Do you think it made you a better employee? And
not
now,
really an employee, because most employees that I look at as far as what corporate wants are drones.
Yeah, right.
Military makes you think. They will make you think, and you have your mind of your own, but you would think about better structure.
Okay.
And that's the key thing that people keep forgetting about, why military veterans are harder to adjust to regular civilian life, because we're so used to, like, when we see something wrong, we will go and take care of that what's wrong and keep going to get the job done. While everybody else would be like, no, that's not your job, you got to let that sit. And it's like, but I'm qualified.
Right that was a hard thing. That was a hard thing for going back from I was watching it with my son. He would go 3 or 4 weeks as a civilian, then he'd have to go back on the weekends or where, and it was too hard of a shift because he had to be on site and all this other stuff. Forget it. Carl says we appreciate all the veterans and those who serve stateside too, as we do. Let me ask you this then. Let's shift a little bit here. Drawing, man. Did you always draw? Was this something that when did this inspiration of, I'm going to segue this because Ryan Permisson, hello, by the way, Ryan, has a question. What was it that got you to the point where you started sketching and drawing?
Okay. Now, I started telling you this before the show because that's an ironic story, because when I was like 5, 6 years old, I was like one of those kids that would pick up like a drawing book and would read it, and I would start doing whatever. And I was up there, was like, look what I drew. It's like, here, you can have it for $1. And just that the other tried to sell
marketing,
artwork that way. But it wasn't something that I thought I was particularly skilled in.
Okay.
So as I grew up and I started to take more and more art classes from like my junior high school year through high school, that's when my art teachers during those times started to see, it's like, you have ability. It just needs to be developed. But they were not at the level to develop it.
Okay.
So I never really was pushed in that direction. It wasn't until I met one teacher that was, you know how some schools have like gifted classes for like those who are more advanced.
Yeah.
So I had one teacher who actually worked in the comic book industry, and she
No
saw
kidding.
that that I had a little bit of skill in what some of stuff, and she kind of pushed me in that direction of, hey, do more comic books and stuff like that. Look at this over here, try to do more like this. And then every subsequent teacher after that saw it kind of sort of reinforced it, but never got me into thinking, hey, you can make a living from this.
Right.
So
what was
I took that artwork and tried to apply science to it. So that's the reason why I went aeronautical engineering and things like drafting and stuff to that.
Sure.
It wasn't until high school where I started to tell you this the last time. High school was like that deterring factor when I was removed from a drafting course by my counselor.
Got it. That
because
probably
I was getting a C grade in that course. It wasn't because I wasn't doing the work. It was because I was heavy-handed. And that teacher was forcing me to learn drafting the right way.
Yeah.
That counselor stepped in and was like, no, we're going to put you in regular art now. Because she felt that it was not fair. I was like, but that's how drafting was.
I mean, technically, yeah. I mean, right. I learned that way. I learned fine art too, but drafting is a whole nother, I mean, even sharpening the pencil a certain way. I mean, the lead, everything, the paper, there's so many factors in drafting to get that. Years ago there was. Now it's, click and paste, copy paste. But now, but technical drawing is, I still think you need to learn it. But heavy-handedness, that's just part of, that's learning muscle memory and everything else.
Right. And that was the thing that I was struggling with. It wasn't the fact that I couldn't draw what was asked of me.
Yeah.
And when the counselor found out it wasn't that, and it's like my stuff was too dark or I was erasing too hard.
Right. Line quality. Yeah, I get that. Or the pencil wasn't sharp enough. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. The lead could be too, we used 2H lead all the time. I still use 2H lead, even though I'm drawing and I'm not drafting anymore. It's just, I'm used to the whatever, the part of that where it hits the paper. It's just the way it feels. It's just the way it's very tactile, Ryan asks, he says, good morning. How are you? He says, what's your favorite comic growing up, Joe? What was like the first, the favorite, not the first?
First and probably the first was, first and favorite are almost coincided. If I can say.
Cool.
That's the first comic that I really came in truly in contact on my own, and what I was drawn to more so was G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero from comics.
Wow. I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, because that was one of the first ones that, I kind of like was reading on a constant basis.
Huh.
My brother got me into X-Men.
Yeah.
Uncanny X-Men, the 1963 run, but those were few and far between. And then other friends started introducing me to, DC characters like Blue Beetle and other characters, minor characters. And it's like, we all knew Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman from the cartoon series.
See, I would have thought I thought you were a Green Lantern dude. I thought for sure, man. I don't know why I thought, okay, all right. Are you sure?
I'm certain because I was introduced to characters like Booster Gold and Blue Beetle and the Demon and all the smaller characters from DC in comic book form.
Okay.
But cartoon-wise, I was introduced the other way with Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, and all the other stuff. So I really wasn't following behind the scenes like that. But my close friend, childhood friend, also introduced me to role-playing games through Marvel superheroes.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, it kind of reinforced the love that I have for comics in that aspect when dealing with the X-Men, Spider-Man,
right.
A lot more characters to that magnitude.
Right.
I agree, Eric.
I won't. Yeah.
Back in the day that he he spearhead that GI Joe series to the nth degree.
Yeah. If I don't show Eric on here, he won't stop. He'll start calling me here soon. I have to do this. So sorry. He's probably going to pop up quite a bit. Just kidding, Eric.
Yep.
What was so great about Larry Hama?
But the thing about Larry was that he came from a background.
Okay.
That he knew how to tell military stories.
Okay. It wasn't just passe.
He wasn't just like a writer or an editor. It's like he had that background. He was like
a grunt. I mean, was he, infantry? What was his background?
Not really infantry, but he had a background in journalism, with military journalism from the military side of things. Because military also have journalists as well. They chronicleize.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Document certain things and everything.
Some of the best reporters were military reporters. I mean, at least when I was growing up, I remember a lot of them came back from Vietnam, and they were, incredible reporters.
So I don't want to blaspheme his credits, but that's what he was. Most of his background was.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about him is that he doesn't remember a lot of the other writers that was there with him during that time. So he was bad with names, bad with faces, everything. He knew how to.
And a lot of us are. I can remember a face 20 years from now, but I'll be damned if I can't remember the name if I don't repeat it like 3 or 4 times. This kind of segues a little bit into it too. What comic character, Ryan asks, what kind of comic character should be adapted to the big or small screen next? Would you say G.I. Joe? I mean, like the old style, or they did a G.I. Joe, right? They did the
movies and everything.
And it wasn't bad.
But G.I. Joe wouldn't fly today. G.I. Joe wouldn't fly today. I wish that we would have kept some of the stuff alive, but G.I. Joe would not fly today because the whole idea of terrorism is too close to home right about now.
Gotcha. And that's understandable.
It's not like an extraordinary circumstance.
Yeah.
I mean, when we deal with terrorism as a whole, whether it's domestic or abroad, it's too close to home. People could relate too much to it, and they would overly react to that. So I wouldn't say
understand that. Okay, that's a good point. So what would you think? What would be the next character?
I could tell you what I would like to see.
Let's hear
as opposed to what should be.
Okay.
What I would like to see is a return to something like Challengers of the Unknown, or a return of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, the proper Fantastic. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the Fantastic Four was bad. It was just it really needs to be done properly, though.
Well, the problem with Challengers of the Unknown and the Fantastic Four is that we are in a day and age where super science is no more. We have the technology to do a lot of the stuff where back in the day, in like the 1960s and 1970s, a lot of the technology back then was not around. So it played that aspect up for a Reed Richards to be able to do X, Y, and Z. It even made Challengers even that more important to me because they did not have the proper equipment. They had to investigate all this stuff and use what was ever around them to survive.
Right.
So that's why I say Challengers of the Unknown would be the next thing that I would like to see, because now, when you have things like the X-Files and everything where you have that high level of investigatorial type drama out there, you could make it good Challengers of the Unknown to force them in a situation of survival. I mean, think about it. Look at Lost. Lost to me that was like an offshoot of Challengers, because you don't know where all this stuff is coming from. You don't know why you're there. So that's the mystery. You don't know what's really truly out there.
Right. It's what you don't see. Right. I know a lot of people thought when I was growing up as a kid, everybody thought Bambi's mom got shot, and they saw her get shot. They never showed it. Right. And that's Alfred Hitchcock to the T. It's what you don't see. That's what's the suspense of it all. Right. But yeah, I think that you might be onto something though on that. Okay. I'll take a note of that. Hopefully that was helpful for everybody on that one.
Yeah. Okay. That was a decent question by Ryan, because I know Ryan is more along the lines of he's definitely 100% geek culture.
He is, and
It's
you
like,
know, I was.
it
You
was
were
like
on his show. You were on his
friends.
show. I was on his show, and
Yeah.
he's really good with that. I mean, I really like him for that reason because it's he's very structured, and I like that because it gets right to the point, and it's
Mhm.
not. And he doesn't. It's not like he doesn't veer from it, but it's just a nice way to be that way. I like to see more of the human side of it, but it's cool to see the nerd culture end of it, and where it's this is what I need from you. This is what you need to do. I want the goods on this. What do you think about this? Seriously, because and if you give him if you give him like I wasn't expecting what you just said,
Mhm.
the challenge. With him it's the same way. If you tell him something that he doesn't expect, he's like he really thinks about it afterward, and that's what I like about Ryan a lot because he takes it in. He's like, yeah, okay, I can see where you're coming with that.
And that's where him and I are kind of like polar opposite because he's looking at it was like this is the trend and what do you think about this? It's like I don't think about trends like that. I think about what's not trending, what could be the next big thing coming down the line.
Yeah. You're analytical though. You're an analytical mind though. You're too. You're like me in that respect because we're always in architecture. We always would look for the next. We would always know what the next movement was as far as financial because we knew what the companies were doing. If they weren't building, we knew that we probably shouldn't have our money in that. And you're like that too when it comes to comic books or in development. And I understand that. That's awesome. So when did you? Okay, so you started drawing. Let's go back a little bit. So you got high school. Okay, you're getting kind of guided towards that, but not quite.
Right. So in high school, was taking out drafting, which really discouraged me.
Yeah, I can understand. Did you feel like you were kind of not stupid, but did you feel kind of being shafted a little bit?
They was looking at more along the lines. It's like, hey, we want to make certain that you get all the scholarship potential that you had, this, that, and the other. And I'm up here. It's like, but I'm learning something.
Yeah. I don't know that could really have messed. That could have really messed you up. I could if you didn't go down. Yeah.
Because again, I still have to face that challenge if I sat down in a college level drafting class. I still have to face that.
Right.
But again, that's with one of the things. It's like, I still kept drawing and stuff to that magnitude, but it kind of was almost like became like secondary. I was not truly pushed in that direction, but at the same time, it's like you will enjoy this and you can still do whatever, but not on this professional level, which it's like, but that was discouraging.
Yeah, so, especially as a teenager, I can imagine. And it's amazing how much power a lot of these people have. That it could change a complete direction for you. That could you imagine Jack Kirby if somebody told him he couldn't draw, if he couldn't done what he did? I mean, could you imagine?
It's more along the lines of, in my case, it was like, it's okay for you to draw flowers and birds and people and all this other stuff, but you can't draw machinery.
Okay.
That's like, why can't I draw machinery? Why can't I draw houses? Why can't I draw something professional? That was going on kind of like sort of in the back of my mind, but at that time I didn't pay as much attention to it. Now
you're a kid. You were a kid. I mean,
in retrospect, I could say that was a fatal flaw. Did it help make me? Yes, but that fatal flaw could have destroyed me. I could have walked away from everything at that point. I could have been rebellious and been like,
authority wise, I would have been pissed. I mean, well, as a parent, I would have challenged that counselor. Me, I don't know what the dynamic was there. My mom wouldn't have challenged him. You know what I mean? I don't think she would have, but I would have challenged if my son or my daughter was in a class like that. I would have challenged it. I would have said, but that's bullcrap. Whatever. What do you want to do? Do you want to stay in this class or do you want to move on? Because I would rather you have a C and enjoying and you're learning something and have a C or even a C minus, whatever. You're still passing and enjoying it and learning it, versus, I don't know. But I think that's one thing that you and I both have. I mean, in a lot of respects, I mean, drawing is drawing to me, whether it's a house, a machine, comics, it's all drawing. So it doesn't matter to me. Whatever you want to call it, there's certain techniques, but it's a shame that I'm sorry that you had to go through that.
It took all that. It took all those art schools and stuff off the table because at that point I was like, I'm not even thinking about that. It's like something that I just did. It just like that did. So, by that time, went into the Air Force, and ironically enough, I just kept sketching from time to time. And then people started to see me with, how to draw with the Marvel Way book and some of my sketches from there. And it's like,
it's still a great book, man. I still love that book. I've had that since I was like 10,
Mhm.
and yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm with you.
I still have. I actually got 2 copies.
I don't have the copy now, but I lost it, but in the move or something. But yeah, I'm with you though. That's such a great book, such a staple.
So people saw that I had the ability, but that's when the military also saw that I also had skills for computers because of my background. Because everybody thought we want to go to school for computers. During that time, it was like video games were very popular. It's like,
sure,
I could get into video games. I could start programming video games and stuff. Why not? If the aeronautical engineer doesn't work out, let me go ahead and do video games. So doing what I was doing, got to the academy, and then that's when the difference between regular being in regular reserves and then the academy. While I was there at the academy, you dealt more with commissioned officers. It was not uncommon for you to see, colonels, brigadier generals, lieutenant generals, and 4-star generals.
Wow.
It is a night and day difference from, your normal. It's like, okay, going to boot camp and everything, everything is being run by sergeants. Every once in a while, you might see commanding officer, as opposed to you saw your commanding officer and those above them and those above them and those above them.
Wow.
The whole different perspective.
Was that that's probably a good thing because you got to see people put in their place, I would think. Your superiors even, I don't know. Mm-hmm. That would have been interesting.
It's an interesting dynamic, but also at the same time, you actually got to see the one thing that most other people didn't get to see. Everybody has let's take General Schwarzkopf for example.
Okay.
Everybody or Colin Powell, General Colin Powell. Yep. Everybody put them all on this upper echelon, but being in that scenario in that type of community, you get to see them as a person. This was this was not only a general, but this is a person that you interacted with more often. And you get a better understanding of what a general is really like, as opposed to what the media makes them out to be.
Got it. Well, then that's good then that you had that opportunity. That's really good because I don't think many people, unless you're in the military, I don't think many people would know that unless you're a family member. But I don't know. I don't know. Academies always scared me. There was kind of like you don't want us to send you to an academy, that kind of stuff. If I wasn't doing something right, you want us to send you to, not boot camp or something, but that kind of thing. It was always, do you want us to put you in? I was already in parochial school because it was already, Catholic school was already hard enough. You had the nuns, you had everything else, you had the monks, all these, so we always had this authority. I couldn't imagine being shipped off to a school that, I don't know. I don't know if it probably would have scared the crap out of me, but so was it scary? I mean, was it?
No, it wasn't scary, but I want to tell people this here. If you ever know people who want to go to West Point or Annapolis or Colorado Springs for the Air Force Academy, I forgot where the Coast Guard Academy is at. You have to make them aware of there's 2 types of things that you have to be aware of. The academy itself is well run when it comes to those who are in charge, which is like the officers that I mentioned.
Yeah.
But there is another culture that is there because the way that they have the academy set up is that it's student ran to a greater degree because they're trying to mold you and build you into the officer that you need to be for the military.
Sure.
And that becomes another aspect that most people are not prepared for.
To detriment or to benefit? What's the?
It could be to either or.
Okay.
So if you're not thinking or used to having somebody who, like in my case, I came from active duty status to the academy. You got people telling you this is what it's like when you get to the other side, and you're going, no, it's not.
Yeah, I got you.
I lived it for X amount of years.
You've got
it's
life
not
experience
that way.
Yeah,
it's
right.
not that way, but yet in the same aspect, you have to like that, push and pull. It's like
Right.
you don't want to argue with them because technically they're in charge, but at the same time, it's like I got to respect it because of the simple fact that they don't know.
Right. And that's, I haven't had that situation with in the military, but in architecture, I worked for many years, and then I went back to go into more of my master's and stuff in architecture, try to get back into that. And I had issues with, because I was in the system, I was already doing things. A lot of the architects wouldn't bring me on that were at the school. Mm-hmm. They said, "Oh no, you're too old. You've learned too much in the field. We can't get you to the point where you need to be. You're not young enough. Wasn't the right? You have too much experience. Mm-hmm. If you were 18 or 19, just getting out." I'm like, you got to be kidding me. No, that's just the way it is. And they can do it because they're deans of architecture. That's it. Nope, sorry, you're not approved for this because you can't get into that. And it's like, what? Or they tell you this is what happened, and I'm like, that's actually not how it happens. You got to pull this permit. You got to do that. You got to. So I get it. I totally understand that part of it. And it's kind of hypocritical to their own fault, and it's a shame. It's a shame. And it's ironic because you kind of got, I don't know. It's like the counselor that did that to you. Then you've got an academy, and the same thing happened again. It kind of, how did that kind of move you towards getting out, not out of it, but how did that move you towards completing what you're doing in that academic side of it? Did it frustrate you again, or did it drive you?
It frustrated me in a different aspect because now you have to deal with people's expectation of
yeah
it. And there's people that don't like you. There's people that think you're okay, but you're being a slacker. And there's other people saying, hey, he's doing the best that he can. And then there's other people that's like, leave him alone. He did what was asked of him.
Yeah.
And you have to deal with all those types of mixtures all at the same time at any given point of the day. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a corporate office.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, corporations are built on that type of mentality. I mean, at least the corporations I work for. I don't know if anybody else can pipe in on that. I'm sure they would agree with me. So I can understand why you love doing comics, because it gets you out of this structure. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
To me, it's not really a structure. It's just I'm telling a story. It's like I create the world. I control this world. And you telling it from a perspective that is not even your own as a writer. You're just telling it from the point of view of that character.
Okay.
And that's a major difference. It's like it forces me to come out of myself.
Yeah.
And that's one of the cool things about the writing aspect, is when you get out of yourself, you really see the importance of what you're trying to put out there on the table.
Yeah. And that, Henri said that one thing that he respected a lot about you is that you do your own work. You put the work out there. And you listen, man, I know you spend money to get into these cons. You're investing a hell of a lot of money to get into these things. It's like we all do, but you really do. I mean, you're not getting I haven't seen you at a con yet, since we've met, but, you're investing your hard-earned money trying to get these projects out. And so, I mean, and Henri said that, if Henri says it, I mean, I'm going to listen because I appreciate Henri big time. So I think that you're, one of the things about you is that you're producing your own work. You're completely indie, all of it, right? Everything that you're doing. Is Amazonia the first idea that you had, or is this just the second? Okay. So tell people about, actually, go ahead.
I told this in a live stream that Amazon
Did you? Okay.
is technically the second book.
Okay.
It's actually a sister book to another series that I did not publish, which is called Last Line of Defense.
Okay.
And the reason I went with Amazonia first as opposed to Last Line of Defense is because I felt that the story for Last Line of Defense was not ready for the masses as we speak.
All right.
Because it introduced an idea of being completely invulnerable. And the character having a power that is just so far beyond what most people can understand, which is actually having the will of God.
So more than Superman, actually having the one step above that.
It's like everybody was look at it as like, well, he have, super strength and all this other stuff. It's like, it's more because of his will. It's like, if he really puts his mind to it, he will be able to do it.
All right. Yeah, probably they wouldn't be ready for it.
Aspect of understanding that one Bible verse is like, no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when you truly put your mind to it and follow in the will of God, and actually have that will.
Yeah. And you have that direction. That's awesome. Carl says, let me post this real quick while we're talking about. He says, isn't that something we put into our stories, the conflicts, the expectations, etc.? Do you think that in Amazonia or in the other book that you were just talking about, do you think that
like with Last Line of Defense, the main character who has that power is struggling to be human? He lost him when he goes through all the trials and stuff, because remember, we're supposed to be stepped down from an angel. He went through all the same trials and stuff that angels went through, and he was the first regular person to survive it. And he comes back to regular society, and he's looking at regular society as like, all this stuff is wrong. And you
need to put that out.
He operate in the will that he was trained in.
Yeah,
the world will be messed up.
You need to put that book out.
Humanity all over again to understand, I have this ability, but yet I have to be compassionate. I have to learn when to truly be compassionate and when not to be. I have to learn when to live by the letter that was given to us by the commandments of God, as opposed to, okay, I can give you a little bit of slack because you're going to eventually grow into that. That's the struggle of that main character.
And you haven't put this book out yet. You haven't put the book out yet. You need to put that book out. I would buy that book. Absolutely. I think that's great. You know who I know who would buy that book is Brian Rodman. He's not on the call, but he would totally be into that book. I know he would be, and I know several people that would be into that. The dynamic of that and having the compassion with the compassion of it all, because I mean, literally, they could devastate whoever they wanted to, right? They could crush whoever, but the compassion to know that people aren't. We should all have that, because certain life experiences we've had, other people haven't had, and it makes them maybe you think that they're ignorant, but they just have not had that experience, And we have to show compassion too. That's a very big dynamic on that. I would definitely buy that book.
It plays on that idea of what is truly human,
right? And what isn't. You have to be human to be inhuman, and that's that's a very, very powerful thing, and especially in the comic book format. I think, do that book, please. Get that book out.
Okay.
You come back on here and we'll talk.
You know how I am. I have to be ready to be like, okay.
I know, right? You got to be inspired, and I got it. But I'm saying, when you're ready, dude, I'll buy it, definitely. Absolutely, I'll be here. So you're saying that you wanted something a little lighter then with Amazonia. Then you wanted something a little bit easier to digest, or what was the?
Well, I felt that with Last Line of Defense, it would be easier to tell that story because it was a male leading character who had 6 other people behind him.
And I can understand that. Yeah,
that would be easier to tell. But you don't think that female characters are a hard story to tell, and they are, especially in the superhero realm.
Well, and being a male writer, it's you're stretching, trying to what your perception of a female is, right? I can imagine. But
as I was doing Amazonia, I found that it's really a lot easier than you think. It's just the way that you build the character.
Okay.
I don't focus in on the trendiness around me. It's like, it's not about girl power or all this other stuff. It's like, put the character in situations and let the character go about the route that they are.
Yeah. The character will tell you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. It's just like with artwork. I mean, the artwork will show itself. Sometimes it gets away from you, but I mean, yeah, it's the same way. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's like, but the cool thing about Amazonia is the fact that I started to tell the story without her knowing what her true background is.
Even better.
What draws people into it, because when I tell people what I'm planning to do for the second story arc, there's like, please get to that aspect of it. We want to see this. That's like, but first let me tell you what she truly is about up to this point. And then afterwards, when she finds out, and when her mother finally tells her what she truly is,
mm-hmm.
it all comes to fruition.
Carl, is the Amazonia character part of your ideal woman? I mean, spiritually, not physically.
It's more along the lines of what I see in most women. And what they truly represent more so than anything, because Elisa herself is more of a wallflower. And another fun fact, Elisa wasn't supposed to be the main character in this series. It was supposed to have been another character that I developed, and I changed it all because I believe that people could accept something along the lines of like a character that they're more familiar with, like a Wonder Woman type character, as opposed to a technologically built character.
Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough. I'm asking you this as a friend, as a fellow writer. I'm the same way in some respects, because I want to make sure the writers tell me more about themselves, and I think they learn more about themselves when they read my stories than what I'm trying to portray about the story. You know what I'm saying? Do you think that you're cutting off your nose to spite your face with the readers though by doing that? No,
because they're two different distinct characters.
Okay.
Altogether, it's not like I created this one character. It's like, now I'm going to change their origin. It's like, no,
I got you.
The original main character for Amazonia was going to be another woman by the name of Felicia Knight.
Okay,
and she's going to be a supporting character in this series. But Felicia, the difference between Felicia and Elisa is that Elisa was born this way. Felicia was, a scientist, and she went through life, pretty much, not what would have been like the ideal person to be until this accident happened to her.
Okay.
And because of this accident, she went through a change technologically where she could pretty much become anything that she wants because of technology. As opposed to Elisa, who is just like, I'm just this way. I'm, so much taller than everybody else. I got all these powers. I don't know why. My mom, pretty much, taught me what I need to know. My dad keeps me kind of safe. This one incident happened during my senior prom. Now I'm shipped off. I became a superhero for so long. I just want to be normal. What is my normal? That's the story of Elisa, where
I can understand why you would want
Felicia, while Felicia is more along the lines, I finally get to be who I want to be on the inside.
I see.
As opposed to what I was.
Donna Carlini says, even though writers, we have the voices in our heads work for us, the voices still will let themselves be heard when they want to be heard. So, yeah, and I'm with you on that too. And sometimes isn't it funny how you get the ball rolling and then it changes things get jumbled and then they change to where the story, you're still getting your story out. My only concern was I don't like to censor myself, and I said something. That's what I was thinking when you were saying that you switched because you thought that the readers would, and I think that you're probably smart doing that. I can understand why, because I know sometimes it's like when you're drawing and you add a line somewhere, and they're like, and maybe that line would have been something that inspired somebody down the road. You know what I mean? That change in it. So I know that was what I was asking with you, because I think that that's sometimes it's hard because we try to over edit sometimes, and it gets to the point where we ruin the story. It doesn't sound like you did, though. It sounded like it was very calculated and you did well with it. But for me, being the analytical mind, I'm thinking, oh, wonder if he, like we're saying, cut off your nose, spite your face. But it sounds like it's not that at all. I think it's probably you end up having a better.
That I was waiting which one had the better story to be a part of, and then thinking about Last Line of Defense, Felicia was part of that group that I just told you about.
Right.
So it was easier for me just to use her than to
that makes a lot of sense,
which I have been using in like different role-playing games and stuff, and have like plenty of stories that I could write about her.
Mm-hmm. What is okay, so what's the next step on Amazon? Where are we at with the series, and what's
right now we're in issue number 7.
Okay.
And let me do this here. I'm going to show you page 1, because this is kind of like almost a finished rendered colored page. This issue is being colored by Corey Green, who actually did coloring for Marvel and DC. So that's
looks great.
Page 1 here. What you're seeing here, without giving much of the story away, is the sergeant that's up under. Well, I shouldn't say up under. This is Sergeant Holmes, who is a subordinate to Elisa, because Elisa is the field commander for the Angel Falls SWAT team, and that's the sergeant that's there to assist her and everything. And he's kind of like double checking things outside. If you read issue 6, he was assisting by checking things in the perimeter of the mansion for Tyler Charles, and this was like the end result, because I always try to leave my issues at a cliffhanger.
Right. Well, and you should.
The first couple of pages of the next issue. So this is kind of like the resolution that actually happened.
And who's the colorist again? I'm sorry.
Corey Green.
Very good. What software are you using on that? Do you scan, or do you go digital fully, or how do you do it?
Actually, it's part digital, part regular pencil and paper.
Okay.
If I could do it like this here, that's the actual page right here.
Gotcha.
Here. That's the actual page.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. You do a lot like I do. I'll draw it, and then I scan down. Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah, I do the inking. The inking digitally, and then send it over to him to color.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much where we're at as of right now. He's in the middle of coloring all the pages here. That's going to be another, how many pages? 28, 24, 28.
That's good. What is now you do everything? You don't crowdfund at all, or do you?
I do crowdfund, but the thing is, when I do the crowdfunding, I only crowdfund for printing. I create more like pre-sale.
That's cool.
Reason is because I believe in having multiple revenue streams. So crowdfunding doesn't make or break me.
Yeah, diversification's key. Yep.
And that way, if I could show you this here, let me bring it up. So I have things like my own company website where you can buy the books directly from me.
Awesome.
We also are on Comixology.
Yep.
We do the crowdfunding. We do shows. I mean, we have multiple ways for you to get the books.
Yep.
It's just more along the line that I use the crowdfunding to kind of help subsidize the printing. And the way that I try to use it is more like a pre-sale, like how Diamond, is like the book for comic book stores to pre-sell to comic book stores. I use crowdfunding to pre-sell my books.
Right.
And in that way, those who get it off the crowdfunding gets first choice of it. And then after that, I send it over to Comixology. Comixology puts it on their platform. I have physical printed books. I put it on the company website, and then we go from show to show to show to show and still sell. So no matter what, if you miss the crowdfunding aspect of it, you can still have other ways to get the book no matter what.
Yeah, and that's the way I do it too. So I think that's great. I think that you need to have a website with your direction. I'm getting some echo. Sorry.
You know, I thought you was picking up on the rain this year.
No.
I'm sitting right next to a window. It's raining.
Okay. So I think that's a big the website. The diversification is key on all of it. I mean, let me see what I've got here. Just bear with me. I'm just reading some things. Okay. But yeah, that's let's see. Carl asked, where will there be a complete Amazonian book once the episode is finished? Will there be?
There might be a couple of graphic novels based upon story arc. So like this first story arc that I'm working on right now is so far, I think it's running like 14 issues. So after the 14th issue, there's going to be like people want me to do a shorter one. I'm up here as like, well, I'm looking at, give them a complete story. So if I do it, it's going to be like an omnibus of like the first 14 issues.
Right.
After I get into like the story arc that everybody wants.
Got it.
Just like with Primetime Saturday Night, I'm starting with issue number 4. And as soon as issue number 4 is done, because that starts a new story arc, I will be combining the first 4 issues 0 to 3 into an omnibus. So that way you could get all 3 issues in floppy version or the big 200 plus page omnibus.
That's great.
Story arc.
What's coming up then? Are you going to be going to the Chicago show? Or are you gonna...
I already paid for C2E2, so that's already been paid for. That booth has been paid for. And
all right, you're going as
a publisher.
Publisher, okay.
Publisher with a premiere booth.
Got it, right, and that's what I was saying. You don't play, you don't play. I mean, you're paying some big bucks for that. I mean, I've got my application in as an artist there, so I'm hoping they'll respond, but. We'll have to see. I'll have to wait till August, I think, from what they were telling me. So
right, and that's the kind of like the key thing here. And that's something that I should talk about too.
Tell me what.
It's always good to make good inroads to those show providers, because the reason I do the things the way that I do is because of what a person in Read Exhibition told me. The people who run C2E2, the people who run New York Comic Con, the people who run all of the major shows.
My ears are open, man.
Of the major shows.
My ears are open.
You got them. You got the people who run San Diego, who have all the shows in the West Coast, and then you got Wizard.
Yep.
So what Read Exhibition told me from the very first C2E2, because I was upset because I wasn't in Artist Alley, and it's like there, and I told them it's like there was a lot of lack of representation, from the local scene in that very first C2E2. So I had their salespeople contact me, and we had a discussion, and they was looking at, well, let's look at let's look at what you're doing here. It says like you got one book. It's like, yeah, it's like, so you're not just doing art prints and everything. It's like, yeah, but we have like a couple of titles and everything already, several issues. It's like, why don't you go into small press or come out as a full publisher?
That makes sense.
It's like, yeah, it's more of a commitment, and if you do well, it pretty much pays for itself. That way, you don't have to worry about the competition that's at Artist Alley, which is primarily for just the art prints and stuff. Right. You're trying to build your publishing brand, and that guys, like I say, the come to Jesus meeting that we had made a lot more sense. So I paid the extra money. We came out of that very first C2E2. We did very good. Second C2E2 had a couple of bumps and stuff dealing with the, if I could put it to you this way, the McCormick Place staff at that point in time. But we got past that, no problems.
Okay.
Third year, no problem. Fourth year, came in, and then they handed me the application for New York.
Wow.
I thought about New York, didn't go, but came back the following year after that. Again, application for New York. Went to New York. Had a good time at New York.
Sure
I want to go back.
Yep.
I have that opportunity because I have made inroads with this, with Read Exhibition. They see that I'm not a problem child. They see that we're coming out with new product. We're being stable. Yes, you have to make that investment. You have to make that change and put on that publisher's hat and not that
Right.
artist hat or not that writer's hat. I have to put on that publisher's hat. I have to do the overall branding of the Agency Studios, what we stand for, what our characters stand for, you know, what our quality of product is. I mean, slowly but surely, we're getting into other merchandising avenues, dealing with like the t-shirts, the buttons, and all this other stuff. Because at first, I cared less about it. I came out the gate with t-shirts and stuff and nobody paid any attention to it. So I put all that stuff in the back burner until people started paying attention to the characters and started paying attention to the stories. And now people are slowly paying attention to that. Little by little, you bring out, you know, maybe like buttons, you made keychains and stuff like that. Stuff that you could either give away or throw away type deals.
Well, and I think that's
little by little, you add on and add on.
Right. I'm going to take, because I'm getting some echo on that, on your
on my
portion
side
here. No, you're good. Let me, we're done with the sharing of the screen. I'm going to kick her from the studio. Whoops.
Okay. I don't know. I just tell it to stop.
Hold on a sec. Okay. Thank you. So I don't know. That was weird. I don't know why I was doing that. We hadn't had any issues up to that point. The biggest thing about it is, you pay to play. And I think that there's a lot of people that don't, sometimes they don't have the funds to do that. You've got to build slowly sometimes. And some people go out of the gate and they put all of it in. That's fine too, I guess. But I think that you have to be smart. I think diversification is a key, like you were saying. I think that that's a very good thing. Control your copyright, control your books. Not everything has to be on Amazon. I think that you can, of course, but I think that there's ways to structure that. I don't know. There's a lot of things that it's hard being a business person in creative environments for a lot of people, and it's not an easy thing. Let me just read this real quick. Let's see. So yeah, it was just Pops says, yeah, the brand has to become popular before you sell. Well, yeah, I think so. I think that it can be. It also depends on the design. I know some people that have a really killer logo that some people don't even know what the product is at all, but they like the logo. I mean, I don't know. That usually doesn't happen, but I've had some though that I've seen in the past that one of the ones that is Dead Mouse, the techno DJ. He's got a great logo, and a lot of people don't even know what it's about. A lot of the older people, anyway, my age. But the logo is so badass. It's just awesome.
It makes me think about, what was it called? Popular. The logo for Popular.
Yeah.
Because remember, Popular was just a logo. It's not, you don't know what the true product is, but yet you got Popular pinball machines.
Yes.
Popular t-shirt. It's all over the place, and it's like it's a painstakingly painful, expensive brand, but you don't know what it's branding.
Right. Okay, so you said that you're going to go to C2E2.
I do remember No Fear, Pop. I do remember.
Oh yeah, yep. No fear. No fear. Oh yeah, No Fear. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it goes to show you, there you are. We still remember them. I mean, that's the power of logo work, right? What's the next show then? Are you gonna be on any interviews coming up or anything like that?
No, C2E2 in December.
Okay.
I have actually rolled back everything.
Yeah.
Just do one show this year because
I'm the same way. I did the same thing.
The pandemic, I just not in that comfortability mode to
I'm with you
at all. Plus, with the way everything is, with everything open, close, it's like,
I don't know.
The money is just not there, but it's like, it was cool that the money was there for C2E to pay for that up front.
Yep.
That way, the only thing I have to worry about is maybe a rental vehicle to get the stuff back and forth to their
Yeah, that's good. Well, I mean, that's the game plan. I hope to see you there. I hope that we get accepted and we're going to be there. Yeah, I mean, we're ready. I mean, I want to make sure that I'm being calculating as far as what we're going to do. I told Chris, I'm like, it's not, it's really, we just want to be safe this year and get through it and then see where we're at, close out the year with the one show and then, be there. And then next year after, we should be hitting it hard here, trying to get things. We're building everything right now, building the foundation before we start building the floor,
Well, here's the question. My question. Well, I should ask this more to Reed Exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
Will C2E2 become a November convention now?
Yeah, I think it probably will. A lot of things will shift. I think a lot of things are going to shift. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think right before the holidays is probably a good idea.
But then again, this is normally a show that happens, March, April.
Yeah.
It has been done as early as February, which was weird.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why
Chicago in February is not a great time. Yeah. Not a great time weather-wise. Even November might be questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good though. At least we got to see it at one of the shows, and that's a big investment. So, I mean, kudos. Where can everybody reach you, man? Where can you be found?
They can reach me via Facebook, Joe D. McFee. You can reach me via Facebook, Instagram, even DeviantArt. I still have a DeviantArt account. I just haven't posted any new stuff there. But if you want to see a lot of the concept work that went into the AWF, the Primetime Saturday Night, and the Amazonia, all the way back from the original issue number 1.
That's great. All right.
Out there. I do run a show called From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher, as you know, that runs on Saturdays at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 10 p.m. Eastern. We do everything from like interviews to reviews to even drawing sessions and everything. It really depends on what's on tap for that week.
Always a good show. Always. And even with me on it, was still a good show. So I appreciate it.
It was even a better show.
Thank you. Thank you, man. You're an inspiration. I think that there's a lot of people that, should follow suit, because I think you've got a really pretty full life trying to, going everything with the military. God, I can't even imagine going through all that stuff and then being, where you're at today, building, drawing, doing the things that you want to do, telling the stories that you want to tell. And before we go though, tell everybody about your love for Wonder Woman. Especially from the 1940s. What's the oldest comic book you have of Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman number 9 from 1945 or 46.
How'd you get that?
Which is the true origin of Giganta.
Yeah. Very cool. And I know that you've got to have a passion for. Did you like the Wonder Woman movie? Did you see the second one or just the first?
That's all 84.
How was it?
84.
I didn't see it. So
it has problems. I can't say that I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I can't say that it was good either. It had problems, but it has its moments, but it has problems. It has a lot of writing problems.
Okay. Well, and we can.
I understand why it has a lot of writing problems because of interference by bean counters. If I can say.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, we know how that works.
Because the story was diluted, and stuff just didn't make sense.
Well, I think the first one was awesome. We own it on DVD or Blu-ray, and I think it's great. They did a really good job on that. I think that they cast it well. I don't know. I'm a big fan of Wonder Woman anyway, but I don't have one from 1945, and that's pretty amazing. So,
well, my love actually stemmed from stuff that from my grandmother who passed away from time, because that was the book that she grew up on.
Understand.
And because, I was at that age where I started truly collecting comic books, and my sister was starting to get into it. Mm-hmm. She was telling us about her love for Wonder Woman, and we was trying to track those books down and everything to that magnitude, because my sister and I was fighting over things like She-Hulk books and stuff like that, because there's not too many women-led character comic books out there. Right. You get into like the more cutesy stuff like the Care Bears and stuff to that magnitude, which in a way it was okay for her, but she wanted more than just that. Yeah.
I know that Linda Carter was, everything when I was a kid, man. That was it. Wonder Woman was just it, I don't know. You were still young though. You were still pretty young.
Cameo, then.
What's that?
will like the cameo that's in 84.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
All right, now I have to watch it. Now I'm gonna, yeah.
There's a cameo scene that where she appears, but that to me is maybe like the only good highlight of that movie.
It's on demand, right? I'll just get online. I'll find it.
It's
I'll rent it.
HBO Max. It's
okay.
Still on HBO Max. I mean, it's not good. I can tell you that. It's not good.
Okay, fair enough.
Bad. It's not bad, but it's not good.
All right, gotcha.
It's several writing decisions
not good, huh?
that I felt that it just like they edited this stuff to the degree where the bean counters had to be happy.
That's too bad. I mean, it's got to be entertaining, but that's too bad. I enjoyed number one. So
no, this way, people are not completely entertained by this. And from the very beginning, first scene, it took you out of it. It was no longer a Wonder Woman movie at that point.
That's a shame. That's too bad, man. Well, we're gonna end the conversation on that, but I appreciate your time so much, man. Stick around after I'm done ending the broadcast. I want to talk to you for a couple more minutes, and I appreciate you so much, man. Check out everything that Joe's doing, and buy yourself some of Joe's books because he's got some great stuff happening. So stick around, man. I'll be right back. Well, I want to thank everybody for stopping in. I want to give an update to Grim 101. Everything's sent over to the editor. We should have that back soon. Then the layouts will happen, and then we're going to be getting that over to the printer to get the proof books made. So that's where we're at right now. I'll update that hopefully here on Kickstarter, but I want to make sure through email. But I just wanted to make sure you guys knew what was going on with Grim 101 Book 1. Thanks again for investing in that. And if you haven't invested in it, consider pre-ordering it on my website, teddaviesartistry.com. You can find the pre-order there and just click on it. It'll get me an email, and I will get one on the list for you. Okay, so next week, I'm going to start out next week, the first week of July, starting July 3rd through July 12th, I'm going to be on vacation. So there's not going to be any TED Talks or anything going on. I'll probably be on social media here and there, but nothing's going to be broadcast next week on any of the Ted Davies Artistry YouTube channel. Also, let's see. TED Talks Timepieces tomorrow will be about heirloom watches and what would make a heirloom watch. So you guys can learn a little bit about that if you want to leave a watch for your family when you pass on to the next life or to whatever you believe in. We're going to learn a little bit more about what makes up an heirloom watch. So, and then Drinking with the Davies on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. We're doing the Mint Mojito. So check it out with us on Friday. Should be a lot of fun. Fresh mint from the garden again. And we're just kind of going to finish out the week or start the weekend, I should say. Start the holiday weekend with a little bit of Mint Mojito. So I think we're about there. We went over Truth Mongers. So you guys know you're going to be involved in that soon. Have a great work week. And just try to enjoy something and do something good for somebody, as usual, like I always say. And no envy, no fear. We will talk to you soon. Thanks again, guys, for stopping in with us for a little over an hour. And we will talk to you soon. Thanks.